What's up? My name is Eric Butler. This channel is called Report and Opine. I am back. And from the Washington Free Beacon, Seattle to pay $3.6 million in damages to businesses over 2020 BLM riots. So 3 years later, these businesses are going to get some money back. I don't know how many businesses are going to have to split the $3.6 million. We shall see. The city of Seattle will reimburse business owners $3,650,000 for damages caused by Black Lives Matter and Antifa riots in 2020, according to new court filings. Business owners sued the city for damages caused by the 2020 Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, or CHAZ, a 16-block section of the city where left-wing activists prevented police from entering for 3 weeks. In a settlement with the business owners, Seattle agreed to reimburse damages by March 3rd, the Post-Millennial reported, for refusing to crack down on the rioters. So this is... It's insane how they were able to commandeer 16 blocks in Seattle because of something that happened in Minneapolis. And we saw something very similar, right? They did this, and then New York City did the same thing. So, again, let's just remind people that the lockdown protesters in New York City were arrested in less than an hour for unlawful gathering and unsafe, not social distancing, not wearing... I'm not joking. People were arrested for waving tiny little American flags, just saying they wanted to go back to work. Maybe 24 people. Maybe 30 people tops, right? But in that very same park, the George Floyd protesters created an autonomous zone outside of City Hall, and they camped out there for 3 weeks. Now, that wasn't 16 city blocks, but how does this happen? Because it's such an incredibly corrupt two-tier justice system that if you go against the narrative, you will be arrested. But if you are eating up all the droppings that we give you of divisive narratives and weirdo talking points and agendas, if you go with that, right? Remember, we were told that you shouldn't even leave the house, but then when the Floyd riot started, that, Rona could take a back seat because racism was much more important. So that's what we're dealing with here. Everybody knows about that. It's painfully obvious, but somehow the establishment still manages to bludgeon us over the head with racism and convince some people somehow that they are here to help you and save you, even though it's painfully obvious that's not true. District Judge Thomas Zilli attributed the business owners' losses to the city's negligence. Quote, plaintiffs plausibly allege that the city's actions encouraging CHOP participants to wall off the area and agreeing to a, quote, no-response zone within and near CHOP's borders foreseeably placed plaintiffs in a worse position. Well, of course, the city, because at that point in time, they were all about destruction. They were all, every single thing that happened at that particular time was built as ammunition against Donald Trump, basically. Now, there's some other things at play there, of course, but a lot of it was just election time chaos, and it worked. It was certainly part of the plan. I think, if you ask me, there was some other parts of the plan that also worked, but you can't talk about that. Then Mayor Jenny Durkin insisted at the time that the CHAZ was a peaceful protest. Of course, that's the narrative we're told, mostly peaceful. That thing 3 years later is still going viral. This guy standing in front of a burning building talking about mostly peaceful. It's absolutely ridiculous. Don't believe your lying eyes. Believe us, because we have millions of dollars worth of camera equipment, basically. And meanwhile, Jenny Durkin, they're all it's comical. It's comedic. Like, these people probably, it's like a Simpsons episode. These people sit down in a dungeon, rubbing their hands together, coming up with ways to gain control and maintain control, more importantly. Anyhow, referring to the neighborhood takeover as the Summer of Love, Durkin dismissed then President Trump's warning that he would take action if Seattle authorities failed to reclaim the city. Quote, the threat to invade Seattle to divide and incite violence in our city is not only unwelcome, but it will be illegal, Durkin said. So, picture-perfect example of terrible, despicable, democratic, dystopian doublespeak. Oh, he's divisive. You have people in your city who have literally walled off 16 blocks from other parts of the city. And you're saying that the man running for president is divisive? He's the violent one. He's the extremist. People died in that Chaz or CHOP or whatever you want to call it. But somehow in this constant cycle of backwards, bizarro, clown world antics, they always are able to project exactly what's happening across the aisle to their perceived enemy. Well, I guess, some people are their enemy because they want to, they're trying to, at least pretending, I don't know, that they're trying to gain some of the control back from these weirdos. And you can't do that, right? That's the same thing that we see with Nikki Haley, right? So Nikki Haley is laundering white supremacy through her brown skin, and that's okay. But if she's out of her prime, then Don Lemon gets on timeout. Again, I can't believe I'm actually defending Don Lemon. He should also unblock me from Instagram. Don, loser. I mean, you are a loser, but that one was a little much as far as, telling the truth about Nikki Haley. It just is what it is. It's biology, but they hate biology, right? You can ask any of the they, thems. They hate biology. They don't even know what a woman is. I can't tell you. I'm not a biologist. They hate that. They hate actual facts because it takes away from their completely pseudo science facade and narrative. The Black Lives Matter protest in 2020 calls up to $2 billion in property damage, according to a report from insurance agencies. So this is where we are. I guess good on Seattle for giving them a little bit. I mean, 3 years later, they throw them some crumbs. That's typically how it happens. No, they're not going to try to stop it at the time it's happening because then I guess Trump would have been right. Or, we would have looked racist. Of course, that's all fake. They don't care anything about that because, as we know, they are the most racist ones. We have the president of the United States claiming that if you don't vote for him, you're not black. And I don't know what could possibly be more racist, but good luck to Seattle. They don't get really the same amount of coverages, or at least not for me, from New York or California, because those are places I lived. I've never even been to Seattle. But I guess they get the coverage during election time. That much is true. So anyways, thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, share, and of course, subscribe.